This is a Fox 5 and Hot 97 special edition of Street Soldiers, 50 Years of Hip Hop with Lisa Evers.
I'm so glad you're joining us for this episode of Street Soldiers on Manhattan's hip hop roots. I'm your host, Lisa Evers. This is part of our ongoing series celebrating the 50th anniversary of hip hop, one borough at a time. We're taking a look at the great artists and music that have come from Manhattan, plus the cultural impact in DJing, dance, and fashion. Throughout it all, one neighborhood stands out for its stars and creative energy: Harlem.
Yo, Al, what up? I hit, what else? Plus don't say word, and we got it on the night.
Cameron's song Hey Ma became an instant party anthem and hit in 2002. As part of Harlem's Dipset crew with Jim Jones, Joel Santana, and Freaky Zeke, starting in the late 1990s, they enjoyed many hits and devoted fans. The 70s produced the Treacherous Three. In the 1980s, as hip-hop was spreading fast, there was Dougie Fresh, still going strong today. But there are so many more, says music executive and artist Rob Markman.
You know, I'm talking about Keith Sweat. We got to talk about Puffy and Mace. I was a big Black Rob fan. And then got to give it up for Dipset and ASAP Mob. Also, too, I got to shout out my man. He represents Harlem like so thoroughly and doesn't always get all the credit. But Smoke DZA.
Diddy, then known as Puffy, epitomized a sophisticated style with his Bad Boy record label that advanced the idea of what an artist could wear. Street fashion played a huge role over the years, with Dapper Dan taking his creativity to luxury labels. No matter what changed, Harlem had two strict don'ts: no fake designer gear and no old sneakers, says Jim Jones.
Getting fresh is everything to people in Harlem. It's definitely all about the drip. That's something you come outside and you just got to get into. We used to watch all the hustlers when we was younger. Every day they would come out fresh. Every night they would be fresh. It was just something that was embedded in us.
Since the days of the Harlem Renaissance and the Lindy Hop, Harlem has always been known for starting dance trends. There was the Harlem Shake, which had a worldwide impact, and incredible talents like trailblazing singer, dancer, and choreographer Tiana Taylor, who inspires many female performers with her overall creativity and dedication. Manhattan DJs had their own style too, says DJ Boogie Blind.
I feel that a lot of DJs from uptown, especially Harlem, it's more of an energy thing, and depending on the environment, it's a lot of talking. Like, you have to engage with people. In
recent years, the late Hot 97 DJ Kay Slay, known as the Drama King, epitomized a unique Harlem blend of having an ear to the streets, doing it in style, and repping for the community.
Kay Slay is very instrumental in Harlem, and what he did for Harlem, what he did for the culture, for the industry was phenomenal. The way he was putting on for kids in the streets that normally wouldn't have a chance to hear themselves on the radio and things like that.
Let's get into all of this right now with our panel. Joining me is DJ Boogie Blind. He's a world champion DJ. You hear him on Shade 45. He's also one of the heavy hitters. DJ Boogie Blind, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Lisa. Peace to everybody.
Peace. We really appreciate it. Also with us is Rob Markman. He's a music executive and artist. Rob, thank you so much for being with us on this one.
Nah, thank you for having me. I'm honored.
We really appreciate it. Also with us is the one and only Jim Jones, a hip-hop superstar. He's got a new season on Revolt of the Drip Report. We know him for the Dipset. We know him for his solo albums. And also, too, I especially love this guy because of all of the work that he does in the community. I'll get the call and he'll be like, oh, I'm going to be over here. I'm going to be at 120th. We're giving out iPads. You know, Lisa, come through, talk to the people, and that's just one of the many, many things he's done in the community and for the community over the years. So Jim, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Lisa. How you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. I'm happy we're focusing on Manhattan.
Yes, Manhattan is a great place. So much culture there.
No, totally. Jim, but Manhattan has had a certain identity throughout hip hop. There's a certain strength, there's a certain sophistication. There's also like that hardcore. You have kept it 1,000 in terms of the street flavor and what's really happening on the streets. You are still outside, as big as you are and as successful as you are. Why do you think that's so important?
To connect with the people. It's always important to connect with the people once you, for people that gain position of success and things like that. Where I'm from, tradition is to always give back. These young kids come apart. You know, I know I came apart, and I didn't have too many options and things like that when I was coming up. So the things that I do is for these young people to get the inspiration to get on their feet and really get to it. Because if I can make something out myself, they definitely can. Because I've been in the same situations they were.
And Rob Markman, the Manhattan contribution to hip hop, what do you think are some of the the earmarks of it?
I mean, first of all, just hip hop started in the Bronx. Harlem really as an extension of that, early DJ culture, battles, the rooftop, like legendary things went down in Harlem specifically. I know we're talking about Manhattan, but most of the times in hip hop, when we talk about Manhattan, we're talking about Harlem. No disrespect to LAS, no disrespect to Hell's Kitchen. There's definitely other areas in Manhattan that represent, but right. Harlem is really like the epicenter. And I think we get a lot of our style from Harlem. From all the boroughs, like we always look to Harlem, like how to dress. A lot of slang come out of Harlem, just like really informs us on just how to be dope and how to be fresh. Every borough got their own style, but Harlem informs the rest of the city for real.
No, that's fantastic. DJ Boogie Blind, you've been around for a minute in terms of the different eras of hip hop. You talk about some of the early artists. Give us a sense of who you think were some of the most influential early artists.
Early artists of Harlem, of course, you got to go with like Teddy Riley, because he produced pretty much everything that was out at the time, from Dougie Fresh to Kumo D's. I always say the 80s was very critical because a lot of times, we would just count it out as far as hip hop was concerned.
Right, because a lot of the focus was on the Bronx and Brooklyn, right?
More so, yes, because you had Dane to Dane. We talk about late 70s, early 80s, you had Brooklyn and things like that. But I feel like, you had a lot of DJs uptown. You had the Hollywood, you had Brucey B, you had, rest in peace, you had the legendary Star Child. You had all these people that were having these events and just bringing everybody together. It wasn't just people from Harlem, it was people from everywhere coming just to see.
And people would come there. Jim, in terms of the music, tell us how you got it. How did you get into music in the first place?
I got into music through Mace and Cam. They were rapping at a very early age. When we were outside and we were young, they were good at basketball, but they started leaning towards the music, and that's how I got into rapping. So, I'm thankful for Mason Candles. I probably wouldn't be where I'm at right now.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Jim Jones, what about the Harlem hustle? Like that whole business thing, the street thing. Tell us about that, the whole vibe. How is it different from, the Bronx or Brooklyn or Queens, would you say?
Harlem is just known for hustling. A lot of flashy hustlers there. Hustle is like a math class. You got to learn. It's like part of school when you're in Harlem. If you ain't got no hustle in you, then 9 times out of 10, you're not really from Harlem. That's something that we very much dwell on and things like that. And hustle don't necessarily mean drugs. Just mean you got some hustle to your spirit. Mean whatever you need to do to get you $1, you're going to try to figure it out. And that's what Harlem represents.
What about in terms of the style? And in terms of how important it was, because Manhattan, you can, like the Bronx and parts of Brooklyn too, you can walk out the door, you can tell kind of like what reaction you're getting from people. How important is that to the people there?
Getting fresh is everything to people in Harlem. It's definitely all about the drip. That's something you come outside and you just got to get into. We used to watch all the hustlers when we was younger. Every day they would come out fresh. Every night they would be fresh. It was just something that was embedded in us. Me, myself, I love to put the drip on. I've been kind of noted for it in this industry for a long time. But yeah, Harlem, we the capital of fresh for the whole world. We set a lot of trends coming out of Harlem. There's been a lot of fashion people coming out of Harlem. Shout out to Dapper Dan. He's been opening up the lane for so many years to come. And we just following tradition. Like I said, that's what Harlem is all about.
Absolutely. And what about were there certain when you were coming up in particular, were there certain do's and don'ts of what you could wear or not wear to be fresh on the streets?
You definitely when wear no fake garments and things like that. I don't know what the do's and the don'ts was, but the do's was to make sure you was fresh by all means and make sure your sneakers was new. You heard, don't come outside with no old sneakers looking like a pool putt.
And that's still the case. That's still the case today. Your sneakers have to be Your sneakers,
100%.
it's a cultural thing with hip hop. Boogie Blind, you played in a lot of. I had the pleasure of hearing you in one or two of the Harlem clubs DJing. What was there? Were there certain DJ techniques that Harlem DJs were known for?
I feel that a lot of DJs from uptown, especially Harlem, it's more of a energy thing, and depending on the environment, it's a lot of talking. Like you have to engage with people. And then sometimes there's places where people don't want you to talk at all. But the majority of the time, you're actually having a conversation with everyone in the place. It's like, it's not, after a while, it's not even about the music. It's just how your personality is on the mic. People want to hear you talk. The ladies want to engage, you know, to get the ladies engaged, and the guys going to do whatever the ladies want.
Right. Exactly. So that whole gift the gab, basically.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it comes from people like Hollywood. Hollywood is definitely a trailblazer in that, and he's still going to this day, which is amazing to see, honestly.
Right, and to be out there. Robin, in terms of the whole Diddy, well, then he was known as Puff Daddy, that whole bad boy era. What about that strikes you as being so, you know, with so much of the Harlem flavor?
I mean, you got to understand where New York was at the time, just from a historical element, like still very street based. Like the music, we definitely had our own flavor, but the West Coast, you know, Dr. Dre and them were running it. And I think Puff, as a producer and being from Harlem, knew how to get fly. He took a guy like Biggie Smalls from Brooklyn, the Notorious B.I.G., who was a street cat. And you hear Big say it, black and ugly as ever. Like Big made no qualms about how he looked. And we kind of saw Big who he was before Bad Boy. And then when he grew into actually being a sex symbol and being fly and being able to put on the Versace silks and, again, teach us how to dress, right? I put those NY onto DKNY. Like, Miami, DC wore Versace. Like, we all got that from New York. That was Big, the catalyst of that. But that was Puff's influence. You know what I'm saying? Like if it was up to Big would have just gave us the grimy joints, which we all love. But hooking up with Puff, that's how you get the Juicies. That's how you get the Big Poppers. That's how you get the One More Chance remix. He just made it a little more fly to the point where, you know, I don't think anybody in the beginning would have seen Big and been like sex symbol. But
right, exactly.
Puff saw that in him. Maybe Big didn't see that in himself, but the proof is in the pudding. Big was one of those ones, and Puff was the architect to that. And you know, I think that's a product of Harlem. That's credit to his upbringing in Harlem and how to get fly.
Rob, in terms of other artists and other movements that have come out of Harlem, who else do you think has made a really big contribution?
It was amazing to see what A$AP Rocky and the A$AP Mob did, just moving off of their own energy, right? And it still felt like New York. They took a lot of sound influence from Houston, but you know, you look at rest in peace A$AP Yams, like he was a student of the game. He studied the mixtapes, what was going on with SNS and you know, Stretch and Barbito. Like you could speak to A$AP Yams about any fashion.
That's a fact.
Where do you think he studied at?
Where he got it from?
Where he studied at? What school did he go to?
Nah, I don't know where the Yams go to
Richmond?
school.
Went to Richmond?
No,
Hayes?
he went to M. Jones. He worked for me as an intern for over a year when I was at Warner Music Group. Him, Karen Civil, my man Chris Luck, my man Reggie. Like I had a mob squad of young gunners that was ready to take over the industry, and that's what they've been doing.
Why do you think that they became so big?
I think A$AP Mob became big. I mean, because they were just their own thing. They did things that were very familiar for us in New York City. But, you know, hip hop is supposed to evolve, right? New generations are supposed to introduce new things. So, you know, they took sounds from outside of New York. They were influenced by a lot of Screw in the beginning. But at the same time, it was the fashion. It was the way they looked. They were seeing them in front of the bodega, seeing them drinking 40s in 2011. You know what I'm saying, as a throwback, seeing them throwing dice in the alleyway as a throwback. It just felt like something reminiscent of what we seen, so it was familiar, but then it was just like this brand new sound that we hadn't had. And I think they had the talent and the personality and just the marketing expertise and the hustle to take their thing to a new level.
DJ Boogie Blind, in terms of their music, have you played their music for, you know, in clubs and stuff?
Yes, definitely. I feel like as far as the whole A$AP Mob, I feel like they tapped into a lot of different elements and different artists that people weren't aware of. You know, if you're from Harlem, like you might have not known who Lana Del Rey was. You might have not known who Rita Ora was. You might have not known who some of these UK rappers that A$AP 12 did songs with, or you know, things of that nature. Like they always tapped into the younger generation, but it was a global thing instead of just like a neighborhood thing. As far as ASAP Mobb's concerned.
Who do you think put ASAP Rocky on his first big stage in New York City?
I'm
Talk
guessing
about it, Jones.
I'm guessing it's you.
That would be me. You heard? I think like the Best Buy Theater, when they first started cooking and everybody was talking about ASAP Rocky, reached out to him. He was hyped, came on stage. He kind of did like a little stage dive. That was a little bit not a Jim Jones crowd type of thing, so he kind of got out the way. So his stage dive didn't go the way he needed to. But yeah, ASAP is definitely a legend in Harlem. He's a pioneer in Harlem. Like he said, they bring things to the table that was so reminiscent and nostalgic, but so much in the future. It just was like kind of bizarre. It was like two extremes meeting in the middle, how they put their side of the culture together. And that's what I respected them about it. Like they didn't take something from the past and make it into theirs. They created something through the past and the future, and they fused it together, which recreated the ASAP Mob. And that's what they're all about to me.
What about some of the lessons that you gave them while they were your interns?
That was only one of them. I mean, listen, I don't know if I can remember any lessons I gave him per se, but I know just being around me, there's a lot to learn because I move fast and I do a lot of things. And at that time, I was in a great position. I won a music group. I pretty much had the biggest position up there besides Leo Cohen and Kevin Lowe. So he had to learn a bunch, especially about infrastructure and how to move a movement. And that's how I think the ASAP Mob became so successful, because of the tutelage that he got from Mob being with me inside of the office and things like that. He learned what a movement was. He saw how a movement moves. He saw the back workings of what it takes to make such a big monster move. So I think he definitely learned a lot.
We thank Jim Jones for joining us. Let's continue our discussion now with Rob Markman and DJ Boogie Blind.
What about in terms of Manhattan crowds? Like when you DJ for a Manhattan crowd or in a Manhattan club, is that different from being in the Bronx or Brooklyn or Queens or Staten Island?
Definitely. I feel like Harlem is more of a people like to dance, people like to have fun, people like to go crazy. So it's definitely one of those situations where you can tell Harlem is in the building, or you can tell when somebody's playing something for Harlem in the club. Like it's very obvious. It's not even, you can't.
And certain favorites that you can play to any Harlem crowd and it's gonna get the place rocking.
Definitely. There's so many records. That's a whole nother interview. That's a whole nother interview.
All right, Rob. What about any of the other people from Harlem that you think are really, we really should be more familiar with?
I think we have to shout out, we have to salute, we have to give Tiana Taylor her flowers.
Oh, yes.
What she's doing in Harlem as a creative, obviously an amazing singer. She's been doing this since young, a dope dancer. When we talk about, when Boogie Blind talks about the party and the dance moves, like, whether you were from the era of the Harlem Shake or Light Feet or, like what was going on, like Harlem always put us on to the new dances. One of my favorite moments this year, Ashley, Lisa, was being at Hot 97 Summer Jam and watching Tiana Taylor in the crowd, encouraging Lola Brooke from Brooklyn. Why? Because she worked with Lola on her choreography for her Summer Jam set. So now Tiana is even coming like behind the scenes a little bit and teaching choreo to new artists. That's a very Harlem thing. She's directing her own movie right now. She got her own Jordans now, home Air Jordan 1s, which I didn't get a pair. I missed out on it, but I need to hunt down a pair. But they're amazing. They're creative. I think Tiana Taylor as a creative across the board, amazing. Queen of Harlem.
Rob, final comment. What would you like to see? What would you like to see in the future, the near future for Harlem in terms of hip hop?
I just want to see these young artists get on bigger platforms more. I want to watch these artists grow and grow their legacies the same way that we've seen Dougie Fresh grow his legacy, and we still talk about him, 30, almost 40 years later, right? The same way that we still talk about Puff, the same way that we still talk about Mason, Dipset, and ASAP Mob. I want to see these new youngsters from Harlem build their legacy, and I want to be able to talk about them and do this 20 years from now and talk about who the next is and who the newest. So I just want to see it continue to grow.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Street Soldiers on Manhattan's hip hop roots. You can watch this show again and share it on our Fox 5 NY YouTube page. Remember, use your mind, it's your best weapon. I'm Lisa Evers. Let's push for peace, love, and justice for all.